In this video, we will be taking a look at 25 things you never knew about Resident Evil 7. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Number 1. During the first boss battle with Jack Baker, he eventually jumps in the car, grabs the wheel, and tells Ethan, "I'm gonna take you for a ride."
Oh yeah, I'm gonna take you for a ride. No!
This is a direct reference to the Marvel vs. Capcom game. In this game, a certain song includes the very iconic well-known phrase, "I wanna take you for a ride."
I wanna take you for a ride. I wanna take you for a ride.
Number 2. Just outside of Zoe's trailer, a window can be seen when looking up at the house. The shape and design of the window seem to stand out, as it looks very similar to a cut-in-half version of the iconic Umbrella logo. Number 3. During Lucas's puzzle section of the game, you will come across quite a few random boxes on the ground, with some of them including an explosive trap inside of them. But luckily for the player, if you listen very closely, you can actually hear a ticking sound in the boxes that include the bombs, which makes it much easier to avoid taking damage during this section of the game. Number 4. In the Happy Birthday room, the number 1408 is more than just a code. It's actually the same number as Stephen King's short story 1408 and actually references one of the alternative endings. Number 5. If you paid close attention to the maps you find in the game, on the bottom right corner you can see the phrase Jill Sandwich. This is a reference to the joke Barry made when he saved Jill in Resident Evil 1.
Barry.
That was a close one. A second late, you would have fit nicely into a sandwich.
Number 6. So it's actually pretty easy to go out of bounds in this game. You can do it by leading Jack back to the main hall after he appears in the bathroom. After you do so, if you stand around this area and block while Jack tries to grab you, you will end up being pushed through a wall, allowing you to explore the map a little more. Number 7. The keypad for Lucas's puzzle room has the same sound effects from Resident Evil 3. Number 8. This game includes one secret death animation during the final battle against Jack. At the end of the fight, Ethan is forced to use one of the 2 serums to finish off Jack. However, if you wait too long to use the serum, here is what will happen.
Fatality.
Number 9. So as we know, the heal animation takes an absurd amount of time to heal Ethan, and can easily screw you over during a boss fight. Luckily, you actually are able to cut the animation short by pressing the guard button right after healing. Number 10. Resident Evil 7 took a huge inspiration from Evil Dead, and it shows, since Capcom made sure to include a few references from the films. The first reference would be the car Ethan takes to drive to the Baker's house, since it's pretty much the exact replica of the car found in the film. The next reference is near the beginning of the game in an abandoned truck. In this truck, there is a Sewer Gators magazine, and on the back, the phrase "Join us" is written in blood, which is a very common phrase used in Evil Dead. The last reference is during the chainsaw fight with Jack. When Jack picks up the chainsaw, he says the word "groovy." This refers to when Bruce acquires a chainsaw in the film.
Groovy.
Number 11. There are many bookshelves scattered across the main house, and on these shelves there is a book called Fighting Street, which is the name of the original Street Fighter when it was ported over to the TurboGrafx 16 systems in 1988. Number 12. Just like most RE games, Resident Evil 7 has its own Japanese censored version, which censors many things like Ethan's hand being cut off and the scene where you pull the key out of the deputy's body. Number 13. Resident Evil 7 was filled to the brim with Resident Evil references, so I will just be covering some of the more important ones. When you climb into the attic from Lucas's bedroom, you can spot a note that reveals the company that built the Baker's house, and that is Trevor and Chamberlain Construction, the same company that built the Spencer Mansion. Another one can be found in the main hall on a picture frame revealing a picture of the Arklay Mountains. Fans will recognize this location as the mountain range the Spencer Mansion was built on. There is also a Raccoon City reference in the game as well. Once you make it to the ship section of the game, you can find a magazine with a news story about Raccoon City in one of the rooms. It states that survivors are still suffering 16 years later from the incidents in Raccoon City. Number 14. According to the scenario director, Jack Baker was simply known as Daddy during the game's development. The name Jack came from the character of Jack Torrance played by Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Number 15. Resident Evil 7 was the first game in the series to bring the word biohazard to the title. For those of you who don't know, the original Japanese name biohazard was actually not available for the trademark in the US due to previous claims to the name, so Capcom later decided on the name Resident Evil. However, in this game's title they were able to include it by naming it Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. It is a great callback to the origin of the series. Number 16. A YouTuber by the name of Slippy Slides was able to go out of bounds with the camera and find out how Jack Baker works off camera. Apparently, even when Ethan isn't around, Jack is constantly roaming around the house looking for him. But what's really scary is that Jack can teleport to a nearby room to Ethan, which makes it much more difficult to avoid him since he is always on top of you. Number 17. Resident Evil 7 is the first game to use a new engine since RE4, which was a great move as the newly added RE engine looked amazing. Number 18. When you get near the end of the Sewer Gators investigation VHS, you will find Andre, the producer, facing the wall. This is a reference to the ending of the Blair Witch Project, where Mike is seen facing the wall before Heather is attacked. Number 19. The talisman that you find in the beginning was based off images of mold and bacteria, which is direct symbolism to the mold enemies you discover further into the game. Number 20. Through photogrammetry, Capcom used real-life meat and dead animals to accurately create the molded enemies in the game. According to Killscreen, to get the desired effect, Capcom went to a meat processing plant to take photographs of different meats, creating a creature comprised almost entirely of different dead animals. Number 21. Throughout the house, the player may see many cans of food on tables or shelves, including a container of Nutella, an obvious parody of the popular snack Nutella. Number 22. It's well known in the RE series that zombies and related monsters aren't so great at opening doors. The same holds true for the molded creatures you find in RE7. If the players are able to close the door before the molded reach them, you cannot be followed. Number 23. This next Easter egg was found in Resident Evil 7's beginning hour demo. When you pick up the house VHS tape in the guest house, the startup screen features a short series of numbers, as you can see from the image above. That string of numbers and letters actually matches the product ID of Resident Evil Director's Cut on the PS1. Number 24. After Jack and the rest of the family storm off from the dinner table, Ethan sets out to find a way out of the baker's house while trying to hide from Jack. But if you get caught by Jack in the process, on a rare occasion Jack will cut your leg off. After doing this, Jack allows you to pick up your leg and even gives you a first aid bottle to magically repair it. Number 25. Resident Evil wouldn't have gotten to the point it is now without the release of Capcom's 1989 game Sweet Home. This NES game had an incredible impact on the series, having a heavy influence on multiple RE titles. Resident Evil 7 pays homage to its main source of inspiration and dedicated the entire sequence seen in the game's demo to Sweet Home and its story. Also, Resident Evil 7's sequence featuring the Sewer Gators was also directly inspired by Sweet Home's plot of a similar situation. Make sure to check out this video here covering 30 things you never knew about Resident Evil 1.